The legendary samurai is an idea that many fear. A man that wields a sword that is stronger than one ever has been seen. A man that could walk through armies. A man that could kill an entire species in one foul swoop. The legendary samurai was someone unknown, a myth, someone that nobody truly knew was real, but it truly was, and this was the boy by the name of Naofumi Iwatani. Naofumi would grow up to be an expert swordsman, a swordsman that would craft his own blades, that would feel them as if they were tampering with the world, would cut through the air as if it could pierce the thin slices of the atmosphere. Naofumi believed that with enough concentration, he could be something greater. A swordsman that was surpassing anything Japan has ever seen. And in a war that was soon to come, he would figure out this to be true. Naofumi would walk toward with his army, with everybody next to him, his allies, friends, ready for the final fight against the people they needed to defeat. But when Naofumi drew his sword, his friends and allies did as well. But just as he did, the allies turned and pointed their swords at him. Naofumi now stood there all alone. The legend of the legendary samurai was coming to fruition. Naofumi was the person that would be in the history books, the person that would be of true legend. But the only problem is, he wouldn't stay in this world very long because he's needed in a far elsewhere place. And soon, you'll find that to be true. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Follows Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I am back with a brand new What If. What if Naofumi, or obviously Naofumi the legendary samurai hero, it's a shield hero what if Naofumi Fanfiction, all that good stuff. Welcome to the first part, Blade of Vengeance. If you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, sub, and comment down below, and this will be a little bit different, and you'll see very quickly how that is so. But with that said, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. Let's just get right into it. Let's get it. After Naofumi sees all the blades pointed at him, he looks around and immediately erupts in light. Light surrounds him and he's teleported away almost instantaneously. Naofumi is gone, but he appears in a brand new place, standing on his feet with his sword in on his side holster. He looks toward everyone else and sees two other people. He sees someone with a bow and someone with a spear. Naofumi questions what's going on, and they don't know either, as someone approaches and it's actually people from the kingdom, in which Naofumi thinks this is bad. He's in enemy territory. Maybe he blacked out somehow. Maybe somehow he got captured. He pulls out his sword and points it toward them, but realizes that his sword is a quite bit different. It's like a katana, like a regular sword, like the one he has, but it feels different. The weight feels non-existent, and he feels like there's so much more behind it. Why does it feel that way? Naofumi's not sure, but nonetheless, the people there reassure him that he's safe and say that they summoned them to this world to help. Naofumi's confused, holstering his sword once again as they are brought to the king. The king begins to explain to them relatively quickly about what's going on. That the waves, these catastrophes, are coming after their kingdom and destroying everything in sight, and that the heroes, aka them, are there to stop it. Naofumi has never heard of something like this before, but he continues to listen as he hears more and more about these so-called waves. But the more it goes on, the more he's kind of confused. He's never heard of such demonic spells, magic, something. This feels so odd. But the other two heroes that are there by the name of Itsuki and Motoyasu ask if he's never played a video game. Video game? What the hell are you two talking about? No such thing as video games. What? They begin to say that it's like technology or some like electric device that you can basically just play a fictional game. Why would I play a fictional game? I've been at war for years. Fictional game? Like hopscotch? Like tic-tac-toe type of thing? They are confused at why he's asking that and wonders if maybe he's from a different world. Maybe they all are from a different version of Japan or something. Eventually, they are led off into a hotel room and they have that conversation, learning they are from different Japans, but Naofumi is from a whole different time period. He is actually a samurai from a medieval period, long, long ago. Naofumi begins to say that he is an expert swordsman, and maybe that's why he got the sword, but for them, it's a little different. They are just high school students, college students. Naofumi understands the whole concept of schooling, so he is not confused about that. But in terms of everything else, he's extremely confused. But luckily, he's able to get some insight from them. Luckily enough, they're not too against him, and he gets some interesting information. But he does find it hard to believe them. But after testing some of the things they said out, and it's actually true. Naofumi is happy to see this and begins to think that there should be more and more he can learn, at least in terms of this weaponry. He has a whole plethora of things he could try. But with that said, it's time to rest. So they head to bed, and the next morning they are welcomed back into the throne room, and they talk to the king once again. The king shows them a ton, and when I mean a ton of people that will, or adventurers that will choose where or who they want to go with. And eventually, Naofumi, Itsuki, and Otoyasu are evenly distributed people. But Naofumi has another idea. Naofumi doesn't want to be with any of these party members. With all due respect, King, I have no intention to be with any of these people. I will choose my party members myself, and it's that simple. So, whoever's currently standing behind me, split yourself off elsewhere with the other two heroes. Don't worry about me, I'll be just fine. The king is surprised to hear this and questions why he would even want that, but Naofumi says that he doesn't even 100% trust him yet, so that information will not be basically prohibited. The guards stand in front of Naofumi, pointing their weapons at him and making it seem as if Naofumi just threatened the king. And the king tells them to calm down, that it's not that serious. That was the furthest thing from a threat. Naofumi is a untrusting person, and the king can respect that. He sees that, Naofumi needs his space, his boundaries, and maybe he'll find some adventurers he does trust. The king says that he'll even give him an extra bit of money, 1,500 silver for his trouble. Naofumi bows slightly and thanks him for the offer, and takes the money as he heads out, wishing them all good luck. Of course, he doesn't hate them, that's not the case. He just doesn't trust any of them. He somewhat does trust the other heroes, but frankly that is to a limited degree. At least that is what you can say out of this idea. But even with that said, Naofumi is still going to be alone, and he's still going to decide to handle things and handle business all by his lonesome. Naofumi begins his training and leveling up. Let's say this is pretty basic. He decides that he's going to just try out his weaponry first, and about after an hour passes, he realizes that the combat in terms of fighting is just like his own world. So fighting shouldn't be too big of a problem as long as he can keep up with his levels. After holstering his sword, he walks back to a blacksmith to see what he can get in terms of armor. He wants his traditional samurai grub, or his traditional samurai armor, and if he can find a perfect blacksmith to do such a thing, that will be amazing. He begins a little drawing and meets a man by the name of Erhard, and he introduces himself, saying this is exactly what he wants. Erhard sees it and says that he doesn't have anything like that at the moment, but if he can give him a projected level that he expects to be in about a week, that he can get that done for him ASAP. Naofumi says that he should have a projected level of about 20. In which, wow, Erhard is surprised. 20? Really? Yeah, should be 20. I mean, I went up to about level 3 or 4 in a matter of an hour, so if you take into scaling, or whatever those two called it, I should be at level 20 at least. Erhard's pretty surprised. He must have had some efficient leveling up, especially in only a matter of an hour. But nonetheless, he's impressed. Naofumi does walk around touching all the swords he sees, and he actually begins to copy every single sword. He realizes that this is the case because you can actually do this with your so-called legendary weapons, and he finds the nicest katana he can find, and there it is. He has the best katana he could have, at least at this moment, and he, for one, loves it. Erhard gets kind of mad, saying that he copied all the weapons. He's gonna run him out of business. But Naofumi throws him about 500 silver and says that he apologizes. He didn't realize this would hurt him so much, so he'll give him that. In which Erhard sees it and says, "Hey, you can always be around here, around me. If you need some good business, I'm your man." Of course. I can tell, Mr. Erhard. So, how much is that armor that I want? Oh, come on. It would be 200 silver, but this pays for it. Don't worry about it. Naofumi throws another 200 silver and says it's fine. He can rack up some money on his own anyways, and it should be just okay in the long run. He then waves to Erhard and tells him that a good man will always have a good set of armor and a good blacksmith behind him. So that's what he believes, and that's what he'll keep coming back for. After leaving, Naofumi realizes that he needs to quickly start his leveling process. And that's exactly what he does, slicing through multitude of monsters, ranking up his level in terms of himself, and also the levels of the monsters he's fighting. Motoyasu and Itsuki even see this, and even look at that he's actually gaining insane strength, and his level in terms of like craftsmanship and how he uses his sword, that's top tier. Naofumi basically just is a master of these martial arts, master of swordsmanship, so the regular fighting of monsters that really don't think that much are probably the easiest out of all of it. Naofumi cuts through tons of monsters. We're talking about for days he does this, slice and dicing, and eventually he does run across a brand new village. He runs across a village by the name of Loot Village, introducing himself as a samurai, and to call him the legendary samurai hero. He likes that better than the legendary sword hero. That's kind of lame. And actually by this point, Naofumi does have his brand new armor, so his garb currently at the moment looks very similar to a samurai's armor. But throughout the time, he will slowly but surely add more to his repertoire. But just as he arrives there, he begins to ask about making money and about various other things, learning about actually getting money from a cave via mining, in which Naofumi knows a lot about mining, in terms of just people in his community did it before. So he takes a pickaxe they gave for free, and in exchange for some stuff he has as well, and he heads over to a cave. He begins smacking these gemstones and begins actually researching them. He realizes his blade is actually some sort of researching device, and he can learn more and more through his blade itself. His katana has so much more to it than he can possibly imagine. And after reaching a level of 20 to like 23, Naofumi realizes that he has various skills. He sits there while in the cave learning about these skills. As he continues to look through them though, he hears footsteps coming near him. One after another begins to approach, and a giant roar can be heard in the distance. Naofumi stands up slowly and points his blade at the target. The target is a two-headed dog, and that two-headed dog is headed right for Naofumi. But as it does, Naofumi slices into the air in an X-cross shape, and this odd acid, this ooze, begins to basically illuminate out of his sword. And as he does this, he basically says, "Special move, Scarlet Rot." He slices in the air, and this so-called Scarlet Rot begins to slice through the dog. The two-headed monster begins to scream in pain as its body slowly but surely rots away. Naofumi slams his sword back into his holster as the dog just evaporates into nothingness. Now that was interesting. Scarlet Rot. Not only that, I have its own bleed effect. Now that is something I wish I would have had in the real world. One slice of a sword is lethal, but a slice of a sword with a passive effect like that is deadly. Yeah, this is interesting. Naofumi continues to learn. This world is so much different than his own, but still, it's something that he can know so much about and just benefit from it. But one thing he does realize is that maybe having party members will benefit him. But to be honest, the whole human aspect of it, he's not a big fan of. So he decides to head off to a new place. He begins to head off into this area in Melromark that he supposedly heard has slaves. He doesn't necessarily want a slave, but he does want a monster that could somewhat obey him just based on the fact that he's a hero. He doesn't want him to, or the monster to be quote-unquote enslaved. He just needs something that could, push around a cart or something like that. When he arrives though, he sees that the slave market is half empty. What's up with this? They sold out or something? Just as he says this though, someone approaches him and sees him. Oh, back so soon. What are you doing here? Back so soon? The hell are you talking about? Naofumi shows his sword, but the man, he's confused. A sword? I didn't know you had a sword. I thought, oh wow. Whoa. Never mind. What's your name? Naofumi Iwatani. Nice to meet you. But it seems like you've met me already. But how? I've never seen you in my life. The man, the slave market owner, begins to explain that there's a man that looks just like him, and actually the same name and everything. And he came down and saved a lot of these slaves, and that's why there's a lot of them not here. But if he does need some stuff, there is some stuff still here to buy. Naofumi then explains that he just needs a monster that will obey him and is going to be beneficial. What about those eggs over there? Will that be good, helpful? Or is it one of those things that are a trick? The man says that is no trick. The minimum you'll get is a Filolio, and that Filolio could help you with some good travel. I see. I'll take one of those. How much? The man says 50 silver, and Naofumi tosses him 100. That obviously pays for the slave crest and everything else, taking the egg out and eventually raising it over the next 3 days into a pretty sizable Filolio. You know what, I'm not really a big on names. What should I call you? Scarlet sounds like a good name to me. As Naofumi says this though, the Filolio that was just a normal white Filolio begins to change. The feathers begin to get streaky. The color turns into this weird ooze-like color, as if it was red but a mix of this odd-looking other color, and the size of the Filolio grows. Naofumi walks up and touches the fur of the Filolio, looking at his hand, seeing that there is this acid all laced on the Filolio, and he asks Scarlet if she's okay. Are you okay like that? Does it hurt? Scarlet shakes her head and basically in a way saying no. Must be my Scarlet's Rod ability. Don't know how that works, but I guess that's convenient. Gives you a special move in a way. At least we know nothing's gonna be touching you. That's a plus. I'll have to tell people not to do that, at all. Naofumi then heads off with Scarlet. And when he heads off, they begin their training once again. And let's say a month passes, or at least the rest of the month passes, before the next wave. The next wave is a crucial one, or at least the first wave is a crucial one. Naofumi knows this, and as a tactician and a strategist himself, he knows how much it means to get this first one out of the way. This is where he can get all the road bumps out of the way immediately. And during this time of training, he actually figured something out that's kind of odd. Scarlet is actually a person. He doesn't understand the whole idea behind it, but obviously she can explain, but nothing really makes sense to him. But at least she's kind of covered in fur. She's basically has that scarlet, like a scarlet color of a fur cloak in a way. So she kind of makes her own dress. So Naofumi doesn't really have to be concerned about, her showing too much. But also Naofumi likes it when she's actually in her giant Filolio form than any other form. But she's allowed to do whatever she really wants when they're not training and actually handling business. Naofumi makes this pretty clear, and during this time they actually head over to the Dragon's Hourglass to get some information. When they arrive, the other two heroes are there. They see that he's actually there with a monster, and they're kind of confused. He tells them that This is Scarlet, a monster that he actually got from this slave merchant. But don't worry, he kind of saved her, because frankly, was kind of just stuck there anyways. They don't know how to really feel about that, but to be fair, it is a monster, and it's not like it's an actual human. Naofumi agrees with that idea, and also says not to pet her. They ask why, and he begins to say that basically this substance that's on his blade is the same thing that's on her feathers. Before you ask, I didn't put it there. Don't know how she developed like that. It's called Scarlet's rods. If you touch the rods, let's just say it's like acid, but worse. They're shocked to hear this. Acid, but worse? How could it be worse than acid? Frankly, Naofumi just shrugs and he doesn't know, but he just says that it's better not to touch her because you'll probably die. They agree, and Naofumi checks how much time it is before the hourglass or before the next wave, and they see that the dragon hourglass says that it's 24 hours before that next wave. Naofumi heads off with Scarlet, and when they arrive back at Loot Village, they just await the wave as they begin to prepare. Soon after, the wave finally begins. Everything begins to change, and there's a request for Naofumi to actually be teleported to the main boss. He decides to actually not do such a thing, and he wants to stay at Loot Village to protect them, and especially the valuables that are here at Loot Village. So when all the monsters begin to swarm Loot Village as if it were a complete ambush and apocalypse, Naofumi steps back. With Scarlet, they begin slicing and bashing through tons and tons of monsters. The only problem is the Scarlet's decay or the Scarlet's rod is actually a lot weaker on the monsters they're currently fighting. There's a ton of undead, and it seems to have a less effective range. So Naofumi decides to step back, and he'll slice through every single thing in the village. He begins to slice into the air. One red line after another appears as if it's this giant blood stain, slashes midair, and they begin to fly forward. Everybody in the village begins to beg him to stop, that he's going to destroy the entire village. But after he's done, and after all of these blade slices, the blade of vengeance slices through the entire village, it's actually not harmed at all. Nothing's destroyed, and everything's actually fine. And they're kind of confused about this. How? You really think I would have let my own attack destroy the village? Come on. That attack doesn't destroy, well, things. It actually only destroys, well, enemies. No need to worry. I have your safety in mind as well. Naofumi puts away his sword and makes it pretty prevalent that he will take care of the people that take care of him. Soon after this occurs, though, the wave begins to finish up and end. Naofumi gets congratulations. They thank him so much for all he's done and everything that he'll do for them in the future. Naofumi says that it's completely fine, that he's just quote-unquote doing a job, and frankly this is benefiting him. They say that nonetheless it is benefiting all of them, so they all appreciate it. Naofumi nods and thanks them all, as he begins to talk to Scarlet about what they should head off and do next. But just as they begin to speak about this, another person brings them a message to head back to the kingdom. Actually, they're going to be invited to a state's dinner. Naofumi is down for this. Honestly, he doesn't have anything against anybody, and he just wants some good food. He asks Scarlet if she wants the same, and of course she says yes, transforming into her human-like form, and she has those red feathers, of course, like usual, covering her entire body. Naofumi then walks with her as well, and everybody sees her walking around with Naofumi, and they kind of question what's even going on. Is he taking care of like a child, or what's even happening? But Naofumi doesn't really say a word as they enter the state's dinner, or the place where the dinner is happening, the giant hall. They begin to eat food and try out various things, Naofumi saying that the food here is a lot better than the food he has at home. Of course, everything at home would be very rushed, and he was out on the road fighting all the time, but still, this would be definitely really good compared to anything else. On the other hand, though, let's just say Naofumi would run into a bit of a problem. A lot of people would see Scarlet and question what the hell is that. It's a human just like them, but it has wings? They're not so sure, and they then find out, or more specifically, Motoyasu finds out that Scarlet is still a slave, and that Scarlet is the same Fallolial or giant Fallolial that Motoyasu saw. Motoyasu comes over and throws this glove right in front of Naofumi and says that he will fight for the freedom of Scarlet, but Scarlet immediately replies that she is not in any trouble, that she's actually just a companion to Naofumi. In which he begins to question how could she even say that she's a human, blah blah blah, and that she's just like them. But she transforms into a Fallolial once again and says that she's not. She is a monster, and that she is a Fallolial, and that Naofumi got her from an egg and raised her. In which Motoyasu refuses to believe, and so does Mine. And Naofumi looks at Mine as a large grin basically comes over her face. Now, why would she do that? What is her motive? Interesting. I'll have to figure that out. Well, what would you like to do? A duel? I'd be fine with that as well. And Motoyasu immediately says yes, that to not be cocky, but he will defeat him. And, well, let's just say, Naofumi is not scared at all. Naofumi is trained in swordsmanship, and now he has a good grasp on this world, so he's not going to be afraid of Motoyasu by any means. He tells Scarlet to not worry, and that they will be done with this pretty soon, and they can get some, well, traveling in, and maybe they can head off to a new village pretty soon to meet new people. Scarlet becomes happy to hear this, and transforms, well, back into her smaller form. Just as she does this, a bunch of knights try and grab her, but Naofumi puts his sword out and points it at him. Look, this is not a threat. I mean, it kind of is, but still, you don't want to grab her. You grab her, you die. Not by me, by her. Look at her feathers and look closely. They look closely to see the scarlet's rot that is all over her feathers, and if they do touch her, let's just say they won't be going home either with limbs or just won't be going home at all. Naofumi makes this apparently and abundantly clear, but one of the knights actually doesn't believe him and tries to grab Scarlet and immediately begins to just corrode and erupt into nothingness and poof into ash. Naofumi shrugs and says that he told him so, but he didn't listen. Yes, as you all can see, Miss Scarlet here is very strong, and on top of having Scarlet's rot, let's just say you can't touch her, or else. Maybe one of the heroes could because they are of higher strength, but even having Scarlet's rot on your skin will be excruciating, so I recommend just letting her walk around. It's fine, the duel will be done soon anyways. Motoyasu agrees, saying that he'll beat Naofumi as if it was nothing. He is just some fake samurai. He doubts it's even real. Naofumi shrugs and tells him whatever he wants to think as they head off to the arena to duel. And once they're signaled to start, Naofumi immediately shows why he's that much better than the spear hero. He slices at the leg of the spear hero while dodging any attacks you can possibly see, slicing at his leg again, other leg, other arm, every single part of his limbs he begins to slice at. Just as he does this though, Motoyasu thinks that he's just messing with him, giving him little paper cuts, but what he doesn't realize is Naofumi hit very crucial arteries and very crucial things on his body for them to function. So now his legs and his arms are out of commission, and he collapses to the ground, not being able to move. Of course, he's not hurt immensely, but he basically cut off everything that would allow him to move, so he can't really do anything. In which all of them are confused. Everybody watching is in complete shock, except for Naofumi and, well, Scarlet. They already know what's happening. Naofumi has done this before, and he makes it pretty easy. Makes it look very easy at that. And he just puts his sword away and says that the fight is over. But just as he goes to walk away, he sees that Motoyasu is standing up, and this healing-like aura is around him. Oh, it seems like you want to cheat. I see. Well, don't blame me if I actually have to hurt you, Mr. Spear Hero. He pulls out his sword once again and gets hit with a magic blast in his back, giving Motoyasu a chance to try and stab into Naofumi, but just as he lands that blow right on Naofumi's chest, Naofumi has one hand on the spear, holding it, gripping it so tightly that it can't even penetrate through his armor. You know, if you wanna cheat, you could have just said that. Naofumi then moves the spear away, slicing at the leg of Motoyasu, injuring it really bad. Not cutting it off fully, but then stepping on the tip of the spear and pointing his blade right at the neck of Motoyasu. You know, I could kill you right now. I won't, because I know supposedly we need the heroes. But you're gonna listen to me, and listen to me closely. In my world, I was betrayed, and tons of my so-called allies and friends put their blades against mine and wanted to kill me. And I had to fight them and a whole army. And that was right before I got sent here. Who knows if I would have died there? Who knows if I would have had to kill every last one of them? But let's just say, the nicest people, the most, well, conformity, the people that you think you can trust, may not be as trustworthy as you think. I want you to keep that in mind, Mr. Motoyasu, especially with the lady over there that you see. The one that just tried to cheat and blast me with magic. Motoyasu denies it, saying she did none of the sort, but Naofumi immediately hits him in the head with his hilt and pulls him back up once again. You're gonna listen to me when I say it again. She cheated and tried to have you win. But guess what? Unfortunately, I'm just that much better. Naofumi kicks him in the face and knocks him out, just like that. He puts his sword away, and as tempted as he is, he wants to kill, obviously, mine, but he decides that he won't. But as he's walking away, he hears the whispers of various people, hears the whispers of the queen, and even sees mine running over to him as if they were family. Now that is something I wasn't expecting. I see. Naofumi's blade begins to glow red. Red, brighter than he's ever seen before, and he's never seen this ever in his life. The red of his blade begins to change and begins to make it a solid color, just like pure blood. Naofumi looks back and looks at Motoyasu and looks at the other people there, and they begin to spew nonsense, saying that Naofumi must have cheated, that he did, that whatever he has in his arsenal is something that he cheated with. Look at that sword. That sword, it's built from the devil, the depths of hell. It has to be. Naofumi looks at mine and the king to see what they say after. What do you two have in mind here? Seriously, what am I missing? Motoyasu stands up, slowly of course, being extremely hurt, and the king says that he will banish Naofumi for not keeping the truth of a duel, the property of a duel, and not properly executing one. Naofumi is confused. What the hell are you on about? Execution of a duel? I beat him. I even let him live. I could have sliced his head clean off. You know what? To hell with you and your little princess daughter. I'm over this shit. Naofumi then walks out with Scarlet, as Scarlet questions where they're going to go now, and Naofumi says that they'll just go out of the kingdom. It's not like they were here that much in the first place. But just as he's leaving, Itsuki jumps down in front of him and begins to speak to him. Naofumi questions if he's trying to stop him, but Itsuki says no, saying that he's seen what's going on. And yes, he might not agree with all the methods Naofumi goes about, but Naofumi is a hero, and a good one at that, and he's seen all of the cheating they've been gone through, and for some reason they just hate Naofumi, even though he's been a really good contributor to everything. I think it's more than that. I think I don't fit their ideal, typical person. You need to watch your back, Mr. Itsuki. Not for me, but for them. Because they might come after you. They might not like a word you say. They might not agree with a philosophy you hold. And they might just backstab you. Good luck, Bow Hero. Naofumi leaves, and this gives something for Itsuki to think about. Will they really backstab him? Well, probably not, because Itsuki at the end of the day thinks a lot like Motoyasu, or at least in that premature type of mindset. Naofumi, he sees everything. He's been in the acts of war, seen emperors fall, seen leaders crumble at his feet. He's seen it all. So he knows when someone's corrupt, and he knows when someone is out for foul blood. Naofumi sees it all, and it's pretty blatantly obvious to him what's going on. But even that said, Naofumi's leaving the kingdom. He even tells Erhard of this and speaks to him about him heading off as well. Erhard says that he's been thinking about making a traveling business himself anyways, so he'd love to tag along in his party. Naofumi puts out his hand and shakes it, telling Erhard that he will stay out of the line of battle. He doesn't want him getting hurt, that his profession is too important. And Erhard agrees, saying that he's not much of a fighter, and he could be, but he's not really big on that when he can make some weapons, so Naofumi can fight. Naofumi basically nods, and they head off back to Loot Village, gaining a cart for Scarlet to carry, and then they're able to begin their journey. They leave Loot Village and wish them all good luck, and leave them actually some weapons just in case for the next wave. They tell them that they'll be back, hopefully, in time for this next wave, and they'll basically try to protect them. But even if they're not, at least they'll have the weapons to train, and hopefully be prepared for the next wave for themselves. And Scarlet, Naofumi, and Erhard head off. They begin to head off down a trail, but just as they're heading off, it seems as if there's tons and tons of bandits up ahead. But there's a man asking for a ride just as much. Naofumi knows where this is leading to, but he allows him to enter anyways, and when they arrive, the bandits try and attack them. But when Naofumi steps out in his samurai-like armor, they all begin to freak out. Oh my god, it's the samurai hero. It's the person we've heard about. We're so sorry. We'll never do anything again. But just as they're saying this, someone that quote-unquote got a class upgrade or something begins to show out and basically saying that he'll take care of him. It won't even be hard. But they begin to say that's a terrible idea. They all get on their knees and say that they don't want any trouble, mister. Naofumi nods and begins to put away his sword as the other quote-unquote person that got a class upgrade and thinks he's all strong attacks Naofumi, but he swiftly cuts him right through the stomach, slicing his body in half as his body parts tumble down the mountain. It's good that you all got down on your knees and pled for forgiveness. Glad I don't have to kill any of you. But if you want to be in my good graces forever, you'll join my party. Not as a staple, kind of like a side party. There's a village called Loot Village. I want you to go over there and protect them during the waves, help them out in their villages, and they will be very good to you. But if I hear even a word about you being mean, about you being cruel, just as Naofumi is saying these things, they cut him off and say they would never do that. They promise their lives on it, and they will go over there and they'll protect them. If he provides them with weapons, they'll just do just that. Erhard gives them all weapons, and let's just say these are quality stuff. They head down to Loot Village, meet up with everybody, and Naofumi heads on with his day as that so-called bandit group has basically become the protector of Loot Village itself. Naofumi, Scarlet, and Erhard take off with the trader that they picked up and eventually drop him off. He does bring up the fact that he can teach Naofumi some trading, in which Naofumi doesn't really understand the whole trading aspect of things, but Erhard does, saying he'll be useful to them based on doing stuff like this, so he'll learn more about it with this trader. Erhard learning tons and tons of stuff is actually more beneficial. Starting from scratch and then trying to learn is harder than actually having a ton of knowledge and then basically starting from a different point. So Erhard learns a bunch of stuff, a way to trade, and actually gets some missions from the trader, learning that the first mission would be to deliver a herbicide to a nearby village. It's actually perfect. We wanted to meet new villages anyways, so let's head over there. They do just that, heading over to a village overrun by a monstrous plant. When they begin to talk to the locals begin to say that they've been dealing with this plant ever since Motoyasu, the spear hero, left a cursed seed here. A cursed seed. Well, sounds like something that idiot would do. I can handle it. Don't worry about it, okay? We'll have it all settled, done in the next half an hour maybe. They're all shocked to hear this. the samurai hero, he can do that quickly? He smiles and says that he can, so not worry about it. He tips his hat and begins to leave with his quote-unquote party, but it's more like Earhart's like a sort of member of the party, more like that traitor guy, you know? But still, he's still sort of part of the party. But Earhart does stay at a close distance because he doesn't want to get hurt or anything like that. And Naofumi and Scarlet head off into the main area where the main monster plant is. And immediately, Scarlet jumps at the monster plant, and let's say when the monster plant touches Scarlet, it begins to rot away from the Scarlet's rot. Naofumi then says that they should combine her Scarlet's rot with the herbicide. Throwing it on her skin, it actually does change her skin and allow her to change her fur. It seems that her fur changes to a green-like color, and when she actually touches the plant, the rot stops and she gains full control over the plant as it completely comes all the way back down and genetically just rebuilds itself. Scarlet says that she did it, and Naofumi is confused at what the hell she just did. He even asks, and she says that she did something like rebuilding genetic, and she doesn't really even understand either, but it seems like it's not just Scarlet's rots. It seems as if she can have multiple abilities, as if she can have different versions of her own fur. The green fur is like this controlling of plants and nature for this green thumb, as if she's like a planter or someone that can work the fields and make amazing crops, which is definitely beneficial. The Scarlet Rot is more derived from Naofumi and his samurai techniques, and the fact that it's more like this poison or this rot ability that she can use to attack people. What else can she do? She can actually take on his blood effect as well. The blood effect would just be a flat dark red color in terms of her fur, but it actually causes a bleed damage when she hits people. Learning of this is a huge step in the right direction for the power of both of them. Now, Fumi is extremely strong, don't get me wrong, level 55 at this point, but with Scarlet approaching level 40 already, and especially needing a class upgrade, it's really beneficial to see the diversity that Scarlet can actually have in this type of scenario. So this is perfect for them. So now Fumi continues to just clean up any messes he possibly can. He heads off and basically tells the village that everything is good, settled, and they actually made practically new crops for them, and they're extremely happy to hear this. Now Fumi, Earhart, and Scarlet leave, and they begin to head off to their next mission, arriving at a hot springs just to drop off some normal stuff. And Scarlet gets in the water and begins to kind of dissolve some of the water and absorb it into her as well. Now Fumi looks at his slave-like abilities, basically looking to see what he can see types abilities Scarlet has. He then looks through to see there are a ton, a lot more than he actually thought. A regular Filolio form, which would have helped before, the whole night incident happened. But still, it's kind of their fault for doing it. And then they have the Scarlet, the Blood, obviously the plant-like form. They have this odd water form, mist form, and some other camouflage-like forms that Scarlet has picked up over this time of training. And it seems like the more and more he's going to evolve, the more and more she's going to evolve. And it seems as if special abilities that he gets can be like primary abilities for Scarlet. This is extremely beneficial for the both of them, and now they understand how strong Scarlet actually could be, and frankly is. After that little visit to the little hot springs, or whatever you want to call it, and after they drop off some of the items, they have one last little mission to handle. And that is to actually visit a village that is under extreme duress. He's not so sure about what's even going on, but when he arrives, he's very surprised. Let's just say there's a large roar that happens at the top of the mountain, making him and Scarlet go up immediately, seeing a giant dragon. Now Fumi pulls out his sword, and his sword goes blood red as he slices into the air like crazy, landing multiple blows on the dragon and causing a crucial and brutal bleed effect, and Scarlet does the same exact thing. They're able to whittle down the dragon's health as if it were nothing. his bleed effect does 15% of the dragon's quote-unquote health immediately. So it's on top of the base damage he's already doing, take 15% of it, or of its health, and it's gone. And for Scarlet, it's practically the same thing. Base damage, but 10% bleed effect, making that dragon whittle down as if it were nothing. Quickly, the dragon is on its last legs, and Naofumi points its blade straight at it to finish it off, slicing into its neck and slicing its head off as if the battle was practically nothing. Frankly, the dragon didn't stand much of a chance. It kinda got stunned a lot by the bleed effects and also the passive damage that Naofumi does overall. And once they defeated the dragon, they begin to start cleaning it up. Scarlet takes small feathers of hers and begins to throw them about around the dragon entirely and sticks each one to different spots of the dragon. This then spreads this Scarlet's rot all over the dragon, consuming it in this dastardly rot, completely consuming it and destroying it entirely. Naofumi then helps Scarlet clean it all up, at least the leftover excess of it, so that the Scarlet's rot doesn't spread like crazy. But they have pretty good control over it, so spreading it wouldn't be too big of a deal, or at least they don't have much fear in that happening. Naofumi then heads down with Scarlet, and as they head down, they meet up with Erhard once again. They begin to speak with the other villagers, saying that they handled the dragon problem they had above and cleaned it up so that no other excess stuff would happen. And just in case, as he waves toward Scarlet, she changes into her mist form as mist goes everywhere and cleanses the air around them. They thank them greatly for all the stuff they did, and Naofumi nods, saying that it's truly no problem. Naofumi heads off with Scarlet and Erhard, realizing that they actually cannot go back to Melromark, at least not at this time. So they decide they'll head to Shield Frieden. They've heard about a brand new country, and they decide that they're gonna go head over there and maybe even get Scarlet's class upgrade. On the way there, they met some actually interesting people, meeting someone by the name of Van Richnot, and he actually introduces himself once again, but says that he wonders why Naofumi is there again to meet him. What are you talking about? I've never met you ever. And Van Richnot is confused and asks if he's really messing around. Naofumi shows his sword and says that has he really met someone with a samurai outfit and a sword? Wait, what? You're not him, but you look just like him. I'm confused. What's going on? Naofumi is as well, and he asks who this person is that looks exactly like him. He's not here to hurt anybody, he promises. He's one of the heroes, the samurai hero. In which Van Richnot has heard about the samurai hero, but nothing good. He's only heard bad rumors about him, really bad ones. In which Naofumi is confused, but does realize that they are some corrupt people in the kingdom, so he shrugs it off. Okay, look, all that is wrong, I can promise you that. They just don't like my philosophies. They don't want me to think for myself, and frankly, they want a bunch of sheep, and that's not me. I'm a warrior, a samurai. That's who I am. In which Van Richnot nods and says that he is very similar to the man that he met before. He's surprised they're not the same person, but obviously he has a little bit more grit to him. And Naofumi just nods and says, is this man truly named Naofumi Iwatani and looks exactly like me? Yes, it looks exactly like you. He actually might be in Shield Frieden now as we speak. And immediately Naofumi goes dashing off to see who this person is, immediately leaving and heading into the gates of Shield Frieden. As he heads into the gates of Shield Frieden though, he's met with someone that is wielding a shield. Next to him, he has multiple, and when I mean multiple party members, including one that looks just like a demi-human by the name of Raftalia, and many others by the name of Akari and Cynthia. Cynthia seemingly a nobleman daughter in their party, Akari a pink demi-human mage, and then Raftalia, just a raccoon girl that wields a sword. Naofumi has never seen these people in his life. He hasn't seen many demi-humans, but it doesn't surprise him that they exist. But he approaches the man and taps him on the shoulder, and as Naofumi watches on, he turns around. What the hell? You look just like me. Yes, I know, I've heard. Listen, I'm the samurai hero, or I guess the sword hero, but that's kind of lame. But I assume you're the shield hero. It's a pleasure. Naofumi then continues the conversation, asking about any questions about why they weren't summoned together. The shield hero responds that it seems like he was summoned to Sildveld, and that he actually was summoned before anybody else or Melromark could summon all four heroes. They wanted to summon all four. Why? And which the shield hero responds with that he doesn't really know. But Sildveld caught wind of this and caught wind that they were going to betray the pact, so they decided to summon the shield hero out of desperate need. So they did just that, and they've been flourishing over here. The first wave was very easy, and the shield hero has gotten party members to benefit them extremely well. I see. That's good. Haven't met someone like you before. Good to hear that you're protecting these people. But there's one thing that I need to know. One thing specifically. How is your political situation? Is Melromark really that bad? In which the shield hero says that the queen isn't so bad, but he's heard about what's going on and how bad the kingdom is. Frankly, he doesn't really know anybody else besides the queen, and that he got a lot of people out of slavery, or at least a lot of demi-humans. I see, so you were the catalyst of that. Interesting. So you must have been summoned a good bit before, I assume. Yeah, I was. Probably a couple weeks, maybe a little bit more before you. Probably right after the actual first wave. I'm not really sure though. The time frame in between that is kind of weird. I see. No worries. You look like me, but I assume you're not exactly like me. Were you from present Japan? As in, high-tech Japan. High-tech? I mean, we're not very high-tech. Computers, monitor... Okay, I get it. I'm from medieval Japan. Samurais alike. Was the main samurai in my clan. Unfortunately, my people betrayed me. They were gonna pull their swords on me to kill me. But I got away via this world. Does that mean when I get sent back, I die? Maybe. It also could mean that I go back to a bloodbath. And unfortunately, I'd rather be dead than leave here and go back to a bloodbath of the people that I once cared about. The shield hero is shocked to hear this. The two different emotions, the two different people, but they're the same person? Same name, same look, same last name. They're the same, but so different. Naofumi, or the samurai hero, nods and thanks him for his help in terms of the other countries. But Naofumi begins to question if he can really protect Schildfrieden and Sildveld. And obviously the shield hero says that he can't. He only protects Sildveld and comes over to Schildfrieden if they need help, and he tries to help them, or at least last time. I see. And I know how it works. You have a shield, and it's a mighty weapon, but unfortunately you can't strike back. Rautalia immediately says that she is his sword, and so does Cynthia says the same thing. And Naofumi smiles. Good. That's good to hear. Now, the only question is, how skillful are you two with a sword? And they're confused by the question. Cynthia says that she is the best in the land, that she can't be beat, especially not in pure swordsmanship. Okay, let's put that to the test. Naofumi, or I guess myself, right? Mr. Shield Hero, I think that's what I'll call you. Call me whatever you want. But Shield Hero, I would like to test your swordsmen, or swordswomen, and we'll see who wins. I won't use any of my strengths, my powers as the legendary samurai hero or sword hero. I'll just fight them with raw skill. They can even use their powers. Anything they came up with, any magic, anything. Go ahead. In which the shield hero is shocked to hear, but he allows it obviously, and the spar continues and begins, and let's just say, Naofumi easily defeats them. He just clashes with their swords and finds every single opening you can think of immediately. Puts the blade to their neck based on an opening that he saw right down the middle. Puts the blade to their neck because they're not basically closing the distance properly. Puts the blade to their neck because they're over closing the distance. Any flaw he sees, he exposes. He is a master swordsman, and he makes that very, very prevalent. And Cynthia thought she can do better than Rautalia, but frankly, she doesn't. Not even close. They both do horrible. And Naofumi says that he can train them, and it's really no problem, as long as Schilfrieden is okay with his partner getting a class upgrade. And that's what he would like to do first. And of course the shield hero says that that would be fine. He doesn't even need to train them, frankly, that they would have given him the class upgrade anyways. And he says that it's fine, that he's a trade. He likes to trade with people. It's good. And he even has Mr. Earhart over here that will be definitely beneficial. So Scarlet gets her class upgrade, growing in strength greatly and also gaining some new powers. But throughout the rest of this time, for one, Naofumi and Scarlet are pretty high level, pretty strong already. So they don't really mind taking the rest of the time to train Raphtalia and Cynthia in better swordsmanship, in which the shield hero says that he'll teach anything he possibly can think of to Scarlet and Earhart that he's learned from either gem work or trading or anything you can possibly think of. And which obviously Naofumi, or the samurai hero, is grateful for this. After some time of doing this, it would be about 72 hours, the next wave is finally upon them. The shield hero says his goodbyes and his adieus as Raphtalia and Cynthia bow toward Naofumi, finding it kind of weird that there's two of them, but they're weirdly happy that there is, which obviously is some weird stuff, but that's beyond the point. They leave and they begin to head off to Siltveld as Naofumi and his party stays at Schildfrieden, ready for the wave to begin. And when it does, all the noblemen look toward this Naofumi to protect them, in which, let's just say, it's going to be easy enough to do so. Naofumi and his party, obviously Earhart is kind of sitting back, he can't really do much, at least for now. They begin their onslaught on the wave, heading toward the main boss, as the main boss is this giant Dutchman ship, in which he attacks the Dutchman, seeing the shadow that is available, and he stabs into it, allowing them to reveal the Soul Eaters. And Scarlet immediately attacks the Soul Eaters and just demolishes one into the ground using her Scarlet's Rod form. After defeating that, another Soul Eater then appears, but Naofumi easily slices it like crazy using his blood sword, destroying the Soul Eaters just entirely. The second Soul Eater falls, and the wave seems to already have finished, beginning to dissipate. Naofumi sits down with the noblemen and begins to speak with them about further things that will occur, and apologizes for not coming here sooner, because he's sure the shield hero has had to do a lot. The nobleman says it's fine, as long as he's here now and here to help. And of course, Naofumi is. He just saved them from a wave. But after doing so, he heads out about an hour later, seeing the shield hero coming up to Schildfrieden. And seeing that, he actually directs his attention toward Melromark. And when he does, he sees that their wave is still going on. What? It's been like 2 hours. How is their wave still going on? I think we should check this out. The shield hero doesn't think that they should. Frankly, Melromark doesn't like the shield hero, and he's heard of that. Well, yeah, they might not like you, but they also banished me. But still, we kinda can't let them die. I hope you understand that. Naofumi then basically convinces the shield hero, or himself, to head over to basically Melromark. And when they arrive, they see the other two heroes extremely injured on death's door, and there's a woman that stands there by the name of Glass, with 2 fans and a kimono on, a black kimono on, staring at them, saying that unfortunately, the heroes of this world will need to die. And that is where we're going to leave off. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, comment down below, and leave any suggestions you have for future what ifs, being that of Naofumi, being that of Deku, which I am slowly bringing them back. I'm not going to bring them back how I did before. I'm just going to do what I enjoy. Kind of just a thing. Also Itadori what ifs maybe, and some other stuff that I probably will have. Obviously Tanjiro, I actually have a Tanjiro idea in mind, so don't worry, those are coming as well. Like I said, hope you enjoyed, and I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. Later.
I don't wanna waste what's left.